Trader.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. This is our public party. Let's go, Barbie. Let's go party. God, it's been a while since I've sung that song. Happy Monday morning, TGIM. Maybe not. I tell you, man, it was tough for me to get off my butt this morning and get going. I just was not motivated at all. So kind of slacked off this morning, and today's Monday. Don't really like to blow up the futures account first thing right out of the game Monday morning, so took it very, very slow there. And I did notice that pretty light on the econs today. In fact, none for North America. I suppose we'll have some data coming out of Great Britain here this evening. But as you can see, pretty light day. Yeah, there might be some single news events here. Not much. Well, US, we got consumer inflation expectations still running 3.2%. So again, is that enough in itself to justify the Feds down in the States refraining from raising interest rates further? I think so. I don't think we see the inflation problem rampant. I just don't think that you can really justify cutting interest rates just yet, but who knows? We'll see. And speaking of which, this is our FOMC week. Another reason for me to take it very, very slow here. I usually don't trade very well, and the formations don't really set up very well, the kind of price patterns I like to look for in the market when we go through FOMC week events. I suppose if you do hunt for things like FU setups, Craig, for instance, this morning, like a badass, of course, I think he took about 40 ticks from the crude market this morning, trading like a boss, and he trades his CFU. I know somebody was asking me about the SFU setup in the library. And if you really want to learn it, Craig basically does it day in, day out, Monday to Friday, and makes quite a handsome living off of trading it. I'm very proud of him. But it's that kind of day. It's not really a trending day. In fact, I think the numbers themselves are pretty soft here. I always like to use this FinViz site. It's a nice, simple public site to see what we're doing. We got the Dow down a whopping 0.04%. NASDAQ up 0.25%. S&P's up 0.1%. Russell 2000 down 0.05%. So basically a hurry up and do nothing kind of day and you're probably going to see this over the next decade. Slowly, the NASDAQ just keeps grinding its way higher. In fact, I would make the argument, and I remember this specifically, in 2000, the conversation was, when was the NASDAQ going to surpass the Dow? And my hunch is that will probably be some sort of big catalyst event into our coming cycle peak. You can see that the NASDAQ is about half of what the Dow is right now. My hunch is into the cycle peak, which should be about 2035. So it's good 9 years away. But we probably will see the NASDAQ and the Dow flirting with basically the same levels. And all the talk will be that, of course, this time it's different. And the NASDAQ will be the stock market for the next 100 years. Oh, wait a minute. That was the sales pitch from last century. And actually, I think they were right. I do find it fascinating that the biggest three companies in the world now are Microsoft, Apple, and NVIDIA. The trillionaires club. And it's like not like just a single trillion. It's like 3 trillion. And just absolutely insane numbers. And interesting how that's hardware, software, and microprocessor chips that go inside the hardware. And I don't know. Does Apple use NVIDIA chips? That'd be a good question. I'm not quite sure. I don't know how that works. Anyway, it's kind of a mute day. Not really a hell of a lot on the actual econs front. Today in particular, Monday. And I get the impression that everybody's gonna just sort of sit here and wait. We have fairly interesting. We have some Chinese data on inflation, although you can't really believe any of this nonsense. It'll be whatever numbers the CCP wants you to hear. And actually, it is interesting in our sort of topics du jour. Oh, geez, the damn camera just kicked out again, eh? Isn't that bizarre? Wonder what the heck's going on there. I'll try and reload the camera, but I don't even know if you can still hear me or not. You can hear, eh? But the camera just doesn't want to work. Interesting. Camera kicked out twice here this morning. Once while I was trying to get the video going, and then now again. Something a little suspicious about what's going on here this morning. Oh, geez, now that page isn't even doing anything. Might be a bit of a scatterbrained presentation here for you this morning, people. Sorry. Suppose if anything, this is probably an excellent commentary on my market participation today. As I said, I kind of didn't really do a hell of a lot. I'm trying to do two things at once. I was probably gonna. If you want to try, here is another video ninja link for you, Chris. I don't know what you want to try. If this one doesn't work, we'll just don't bother doing a camera here today. And besides, it's not like my good looks are blinding anyone here. So, all right. So not much on the econ front. In fact, actually very little. I would say did see some interesting developments news-wise across the world. And we have kind of talked about this in the recent past. In that I wouldn't be shocked if you actually found out that this Eurozone experiment thing starts to actually fall apart in earnest over the next 10 years or so. If anything, Vladdy has single-handedly derailed this whole Euro happy family kind of experiment thing that was started. Geez, I remember Helmut Kohl talking about the euro back in the late 80s. So, and that kind of makes sense too. Heading into the end of the century, people are often pretty optimistic, good times and all that. And then I would also make the argument, and I don't think we just don't have that much historical data, but I don't hear anybody talking about this, but it makes perfect sense to me that we just went through a millennial shift. So kind of like the same way, and think about it, 19th century, 1899, everybody was all optimistic, and the sort of Victorian age peak of society, and JP Morgan, those kind of images and stuff. I think you could actually make the argument that this kind of stuff happens on a millennial basis as well. Nobody ever talks about what was happening in society in the year 1000, but everybody sure knows what happened in 1066. And I wouldn't be surprised that into the latter part of this century, we have some real big shoot 'em up. And then, of course, in the 11th and 12th and 13th century, we had plagues and Black Death and all that kind of stuff. So society really went backwards. I wouldn't be surprised if I remember I saw a message from a guy who was supposed to be from the future. This was about 20 years ago. And in the future, I think it was like 2300, 2400 or something like that. The collective sort of thought about the human experience is we are nothing more than the universe reaching consciousness. And actually, I really like that thinking. That makes absolute perfect sense to me. Um, but also too, he said that there was an absolutely horrific, big old shoot 'em up nuclear war sometime in the 21st century. So guess what? That's where we are. So, it's a bit, it's going to be a tough, I mean, I think we all are fully aware about how tough it is, no doubt about it. And, we might have to do a bit of regressing as a species here before we can move forward. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Suppose this November we're going to have a real test of all this coming up, eh? Anyway, back to present and reality. As I said, kind of a Jesus, now what? Wow. Hey, look, the camera blew up again. All right, well, we tried. Guess camera's just not going to do it here today. It's too bad, actually. I guess maybe I just have one too many tabs open. So anyway, I killed the camera, so sorry, everybody. We'll have to put that away for today. There's actually not really a hell of a lot for me to talk to you guys about here in the market. Did spend a lot of time showing you this image yesterday. And I hate to say it, but I think, there hasn't been much change here through the remainder of yesterday following when I did the video and then coming out of the gate this morning. If anything, I think what we saw, and we're seeing this a lot lately, is a huge market manipulation around, this was Friday, around these options expiry events. So if anything, we almost probably should now sort of come to expect that on Friday afternoons, we just take a quick boo at where Wall Street wants the market to go out. And if markets are appreciably above, well, I would say if markets are, well, if they're above massive open interest levels in open options that are expiring, you probably ought to pay attention. And then what happens is sort of Monday opens up and it's sort of like a kind of a position squaring day. That kind of feels like what today is. If we look at things like Bitcoin under the microscope a little bit more, here was that short position that we talked about yesterday, and I drew these AB equals CDs. Kind of felt like we needed to work our way up and maybe even kiss this trend line from the underside. I actually really do like the idea of if you're not in a short, seriously concentrating on 70,612 if you want to take a short shot against these highs. And that would also be like a alt AB equals CD extension. If we got like some sort of pop up to 1.618, that would actually be a really, really good short trade. So with that said, I will be watching like a hawk how this develops. There is that 61.8 on the futures. Like I said, I took a short shot off of this M and that got stopped out. So not in a position right now, but it is interesting how the original meme that was put together on this site was a happy little short at 71,000. So we just keep sort of oscillating around these levels and notice 61.8. This is sort of like that Mount, no, what the hell's his name? I don't even know what the guy's name is. Mr. ICT or whatever the hell he wants to go by. Sort of that market structure shift kind of concept. Where did the market actually previously make a higher low and higher high on a bull market and then actually start to break? And then can we actually see a close below that level on whatever time frame you're looking at to sort of confirm that indeed this market structure has broken? And I think that happened there on that event there. Boom. So then you can, if I understand his strategy, and it's not my strategy, but I think there's value in it. So I have been paying attention. I think if you can think, and I'm not an expert on any of this, so certainly don't. That's why, if anything, I put the ICT reference on there. But I think you can say that these are sort of like these little fair value gaps. So this was a consolidation zone. This is a consolidation zone. and there is your fair value gap kind of concept. So any kind of failure up in here, and oh, what a big surprise, trend lines. This is a diamond pattern top up here, and good old reload zones. And I remember I'd said earlier, well, I don't know whether you remember or not, but I've just noticed that more often than not, on these kind of setups, the market loves to rally right up to Mountain Man right there and stall. And I think that makes an excellent trade location for that particular setup. Also notice too, like I said, the diamond pattern up here, which would basically, it's a very difficult trade to take, but it basically implies that the loss of that low there is a failure. You could make an argument that the diamond is also an inside bar, so that means that the loss of that low is a failure sell signal. So, thank you, sir. So I could understand, I think it would make sense that there should be some sort of serious fight right up in this area here. And I guess the question ultimately is what's going to drive price up into that area. And we do have an FOMC meeting coming up here. Usually the market sells off into FOMC meetings, so I'm a little bit surprised by that. But at the same time, too, we are waiting for some inflation data. And I wonder if maybe like a release of inflation data. I think there's a report that comes out tomorrow that should be fairly market moving. Oh, I guess it wasn't. Not odd. You got Chinese data, but like I said, I don't think you can really believe any of this. Half of this stuff's just made up. But yeah, okay. So Wednesday, which is interesting because that's actually the day of the FOMC announcement. We do have some pretty important numbers coming out there first thing in the morning. And then of course we have the FOMC announcement later on in the day. So I think a lot of people are just going to be sitting on their hands, waiting for Wednesday. Today news wise is basically a non-event. I guess a couple things that jumped out at the team while we were getting ready to do this video here today. I'm not quite sure how to interpret this, but Chris had suggested this is probably worth mentioning, especially since this community is relatively crypto oriented. Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Shithead. I don't know what you want to call him. I'm actually surprised this guy actually even survived through the past couple of years because it's been an absolute shit show over there. And I keep seeing more and more anecdotes of just, the whole population was conned into becoming real estate speculators, kind of like the same thing that's happened to China. And of course, this place is falling apart. We don't need to start about talking about Canada again, get Brian all fired up. But Winnie the Pooh over there is planning on, I don't even understand this, but plan to unban, and keep in mind, China ban, I think China's banned crypto like a dozen times in the 10 years that I've been in the crypto space. So ban, unban, it's obviously a tool that they use to manipulate the market and their society. What a big surprise, CCP cocksuckers. They plan to unban crypto in China, and it will be massive. I have no idea what the hell this means. But I suppose, if it's one thing you can absolutely count on with the Chinese is they love to gamble and they love to speculate. Probably not a story I'm going to be too involved in, especially here in the West. It'll be interesting to see how weaponized all this crap becomes. I did hear news today, and probably more significant for us in the near term that in fact, maybe if you could find a news article, Chris, while I'm blabbing away here, it might be more productive. I did see that people in the lounge were talking when I woke up first thing this morning about the Europeans banning Tether. So I would imagine in the short term, this is probably going to have a pretty significant effect on the space. And actually, I do like the idea that Europe would prefer, I would imagine, especially if they were sitting around all their bureaucratic meetings and stuff. I think Europe would probably prefer that Europeans use some sort of euro token or euro, stable coin or whatever the hell they want to call it, versus like the US dollar or US, like Tether is US dollar sort of based. So I don't know whether the conversation is about that or whether it's about European Central Bank being obviously run by the Rothschilds and all those crooks in the banking industry, and of course they have a cartel. Uh, the one thing I absolutely love about the United States of America is there is still some little shred of free market capitalism. And the way that the US Congress is set up is that, people who can buy their politicians, they at least get a say. Um, I don't think that's the case in Europe. But as I said earlier, it'd be interesting to see whether this whole Eurozone experiment thing succeeds at the end of the day, because I'm hearing a lot of talk that, France, a lot of the Euro elections, and actually we'll have on Sjord tomorrow in the after party, and he'll give us definitely a boots on the ground kind of perspective of what the fallout of these elections are. But if I understand correctly, the European population has had about enough of these damn communists. And I think that a lot of people in Europe are sick and tired of "you will eat bugs and be happy" bullshit. I can tell you absolutely for certain, people in China down here have just about had it with this stupid idiot Trudeau doofus. Um, I mean, social media, it's just post after post after post about how the whole population absolutely hates the guy. So, anyway, welcome to the 21st century. But it'll be interesting to see, number one, and I don't even know if this article is in relation to it, but how does this tether thing play out? If I understand correctly, the Europeans are basically banning the tether. And then I have no comment on this, although what I would say is it wouldn't surprise me if the situation is so bad in China that they are just desperately, just grasping at any kind of straws possible to encourage any kind of economic activity and just change the narrative from Winnie the Pooh shit show. And the sad part about it is when you have a society, have you ever listened to Peter Zahn? If you have a society that's run by one person, same thing with Hitler, same thing with Stalin. Um, societies just can't operate with one idiot running the show like this. So obviously he was sitting one day and said, you know what? Hey, let's just let those crypto kids go crazy and let's see if that can maybe change the narrative and get the speculative juices flowing again. I don't know. We'll see. At the very least, let's keep an eye on this story and see how it plays out. Um, yeah. As I've said repeatedly over my career, and I will restate it, I will constantly state it. I love the Chinese people. In fact, I used to give walking tours of downtown Vancouver, and we used to talk about Dr. Sun Yat-sen, and he had a beautiful garden down in Chinatown here in Vancouver that I used to always do walking tours around. It was so nice. This dickhead here, he basically made it illegal for any Chinese, and now because they have so much control of even my country. And it turns out that actually they caught the current government red-handed. Turns out that these CCP bastards own a bunch of these Canadian politicians. Huge scandal in my country right now. But you're not even allowed to talk about Dr. Sun Yat-sen. And he was like the guy who basically brought China into the 20th century. And you're not even allowed to talk about it. So at no point, please don't ever infer that I am like anti-Chinese or anti-Asian or anything else. I am anti-totalitarian dictatorships. And that's the same message I've had since the days that I was literally ready to go and fight World War III with the Soviet Union and the battlefields of Eastern Europe. We were ready. Wow, that was my time back in the 1980s and early 90s. So nothing's really changed, which is so ironic. I mean, you still see they're flying the same damn flag. This guy's a bastard. I mean, God, and he'll kill you in a heartbeat if he probably. I even got crosshairs on my forehead right now. So it's never anything to do with the Chinese people. It's to do with these dickheads, and totalitarian dictatorships. I hate it. And I'm probably going to end up in some prison cell by the end of all this. But oh well, it is what it is. So I don't know whether that's a benefit to you. Like I said, there's no econs happening today. The stock market is just absolutely parked. If anything, it's good to see Nasdaq's, catching a bit of a bid here, but brick and mortar has just stopped. And the crypto space, well, look at that. So now we're backing off. The crypto space isn't doing anything here today. Hey, well, we're back up $20 on the trade. Woohoo! So, there's your market summary. One thing I'm going to leave off this free broadcast with, because I think it's really, really valuable. I had a message from a site member this morning, and it's sort of along the lines of, my God, I wish I had run into you guys at TRI, years ago. You would have saved me so much money. So I don't know whether you call it a sales pitch, or you call it just, tooting our own horn. But, if anything, if I could ask everybody who is part of the TRI community or likes to watch these free videos and stuff, I would love to see a message like this get out into the world. I put this earlier out. I just said, look at, like I had one gentleman here, like you said, right? I had said earlier, I mean, he was telling me that there are, you hear me go on about the Gucci sweater wearers and all those. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of people that got sucked into that euphoria when I just kept saying, cool your jets, slow down, wait for the consolidation, don't chase. Have you ever heard me say, don't chase, don't chase, don't chase? Right. And, I'm getting messages from these people saying this gentleman literally said that, he goes right across the entire crypto community because he's a member of all these different, oh, look at that. I'm in the day traders room. Maybe that's why my video was cutting out. I'll get out of the day traders room. Anyway, and he even said, like, I was really impressed. He even said here, I'll just quote him, although I won't name names, but he said, will you be going through the market cycle today in the daily brief to help reassure us things will turn good? I'm just feeling a bit down and worried about the market. If it dumps more and the alts will be obliterated. My account's down quite a bit since the March peak. Yeah, that's understandable. The emotional side of this is very intense. And then he says, in all the other groups, everyone is shitting themselves. I just had a guy text me that he lost $700,000. And the sad part about it, my response to him was I said, so has anybody started to say this time the meltdown is different? Which is a little bit tongue in cheek, but ironically enough, we'll know that the bottom is actually here when these people actually start saying stupid things like, well, it's all going to zero. This time it's different and we're all toast. I mean, I'm sure you're watching this video who sent me a message. I'm not going to name names. But, I sat and I just talked with him and I said, this is actually everything that I said. We all know when the seasonal trough, I mean, maybe if you don't know, maybe write this down. But, year in, year out, season in, season out, I've been at this game an awfully long time. Usually the market bottoms somewhere around the end of June through that July 4th holiday weekend. So here we are, the 10th of June. We could very easily still have to go on this another 3 weeks of this, people. Please understand that this business as usual, nothing new. So I just, I put this out because of this kind of statement. I really would love for us to get this message out, right? If give this tweet a like if you could. And it looks like there's a few people that have placated me here. But give it a like if I or TRI or the community, Julian's comment last Thursday was spot on. And I told him at least 2 or 3 times. I was very impressed. He was, like, crypto never ends a cycle easy. It's always a major pain in the ass going through these damn correction cycles. And usually the end of it is, there's people like literally, I wouldn't be surprised over the next 2 or 3 weeks, people, and please understand this. And if you happen to be in this situation, then fucking at least reach out to me, but reach out to any of our TRIOGs and they will help you. But usually the end of these cycles, and now this gentleman telling me that, $700,000 loss and the guy's just about to fucking lose it. Usually the end of these cycles is we actually have to hear about things like suicide hotlines. So, like what I've just asked here is, if TRIs helped you to break that cycle of the public, and understand the public usually loses money at this. That's what the public does. That's normal. So ironically enough, if you've come in, maybe you're watching these videos for the first time and you're like, who is this crazy guy? But just understand, if you actually lost money in this whole crypto speculating game, you're normal. That's what's supposed to happen here. The 1% takes the 99%'s money away from them. Then the 99% goes, oh, well, I guess I got to go back to work and punch a clock and work for the man, save up a bunch of money. And then the next cycle peak, they do it all over again. They just hand the money right back to the 1%. So if TRIs helped you break that cycle, and we've changed the records. Now you buy down markets, you sell up markets, right? You obey risk management. You quantify what are the reasons that actually get you to act, and you track how you've done in actually following those reasons. That's the kind of stuff that breaks that cycle. Not going to Gucci sweater wearer seminars and watching a guy circle Bitcoin on a whiteboard and talk at the very top of the market about how wonderful the market is. That's exactly what the public does, and they lose money consistently. And then, if you could retweet it, if you would actually suggest to friends or family member, whether it be the full education program where we teach you how to build and run a small business of trading with the expectation of actually making money, or whether it just be something like, I really, really enjoy listening to Sior, Julian, Graham, Steven. Actually, Steven's coming on our level 3 class now, tomorrow, and going to be talking harmonics up the butt with the students. That should be a fun class. But, all our guests on Fridays and stuff like that. I mean, we have such an awesome community. So, either give us a like that, yeah, we've helped you change and the record and get you on a better track, or retweet if you think that, hey, you know what, maybe you could benefit. And actually, I was really pleased, just even as simple feedback. And I see this happens to a lot of people in the public, right? They were going to do that, but then they got derailed and they never really finished. And I'd like to see a Bart back on the education program. Let's go in there and make a positive difference in your life, sir. So, I'll just finish off with, don't be surprised if this has to happen again. It is interesting that in the 1930s, they had these things called Hoovervilles, which was sadly a commentary on basically that particular generation. People got wiped out and they couldn't afford housing, and so they ended up living in their cars in these sort of makeshift cities. Well, I mean, that's basically happening again. This lady was walking around the public parks of my country, and there's just like people are like literally living in tents, like they're like whole, literally like Tentville's, Trudeauvilles, maybe we'll call them. I don't know. So you can definitely see history repeating itself. And make no mistake about it, folks. Every single one of us could very easily end up in this exact situation. I'd even make the argument that there are now food banks and food lines in my country. This is actually happening now. So, if you can, figure out a way to, not let this happen to yourself. Play, conservative. Don't spend your money lavishly. If you can, start building a plan. We have a fairly friendly little window here over the next year or two, but into the latter part of this decade, I could very easily see this becomes actually a hallmark of our society. The way that these bastard commie bankster crooks have screwed us over here. So just understand this is a very real reality of our society now. So you have to go out of your way to make damn sure that you don't end up like this. If TRI has helped you, give us a like. And if you think that somebody else could benefit, maybe retweet this. And I can get sort of a gauge of how much sort of interaction we've done with the public. And I'd love to see something like this go viral. So. Okay, I'm going to try and stop talking. I was a bit of a rant there, 5-10 minutes after. As I had said earlier, I mean, there's not really a hell of a lot going on. It's interesting to see the market is catching a bit of a bid. Russell 2000 is basically flat, and the Dow's basically flat. What a surprise. Billy Gates and Jeff Bezos and all those kind of clowns are still doing well in our world. If you are a human, help wanted, but you need not apply. All right. Have yourselves a great day. We'll head on over to the after party now and review some of those questions that I didn't really want to talk about too much in the public. So pop on over if you want to join the after party and learn a little bit more about how to identify divergence. And as well, I think there was one or two other questions from yesterday that we'll just review. And also, too, we'll check out the daily brief request room. People put questions in there as well. So that's how we'll be spending the next hour or so. All right. Have yourselves a great day. See everybody tomorrow. Not really much going on market-wise here until the Fed. So we'll probably do one of our Fed shows that we do on a regular basis every month and listen to see who wants to have Jerry's baby. All right. All the best. Bye for now.